Hello beautiful Facebook fam, Emily Diamond here. Wanted to come in and talk again about another aspect of positive negative, and today I wanted to talk about positive motivations and negative motivations. We often do the majority of our behaviour, unconscious majority of it, just getting through life with negative conditioning. Okay, so things like we wake up first thing in the morning, and for most of us the first goal of the day is an unconscious micro goal. It's to get from the bed to the toilet without urinating on ourselves. Just thought I'd start out on that really classy note today, guys. You know, most of you already know what a bit of a kook I am, but that is an unconscious micro goal. And there's a negative motivation, okay? The negative motivation is that I don't want to soil myself, or I don't want to make a mess out of my bed, or I don't want to walk around with urine. Now, that is essentially a negative motivation. Is it a bad motivation? Not at all. It's a fantastic motivation. But according to motivation psychology, because it's about what we don't want, it's classed as a negative motivation. So when we're talking negative and positive motivation, we're essentially talking, is it about what I want, or is it about what I don't want? And we are continually shaped by both. And there's a beautiful tension between the two. And when there's this really effective tension between the two, we have incredible bursts of productivity, inspiration, purposeful action that we're able to sustain over really, really long periods of time, okay, without getting fatigued, without getting burned out. Burnout to me is a massive sign that we're out of alignment and we're not getting that balance of positive and negative motivation. So remember, again, I'm not talking about positivity like we discussed the other day, idea about positive thinking. We're not talking about whether it's good or it's bad or whether it makes us feel good. We're talking about, is it what I desire? Is it about my preferences? Or is it about what I don't desire? And most of the time in life, we are going through experiences of what we call contrast. And I like to, when people have trouble determining and defining aspects of their purpose or goals, what a beautiful day it is today, by the way, I have to say, when the people are having trouble with that and they're frustrated by the lack of clarity, I like to remind them that when you go into a clothing store, let's say there's 500 items in a clothing store, and you walk in and you go through the rack and you go, yeah, not that, not that, not that, not that, not that, not that, not that. Oh yeah, that's all right, I'll try that on. Now, we don't get distressed, or most of us don't get distressed by the volume of not that. I don't want that. And the reason we don't get distressed is because actually our persistent experience of life. However, and that's also our persistent experience of our environment. Yep, don't want that. Yep, don't want that in my business. Yep, don't want that in my leadership. Yep, don't want that in my relationship with myself. Yep, don't want that in my health and well-being behaviors. Yep, don't want that in the way I parent. Yep, don't want that in the way I manage. Yep, don't want that in my body. And so we go through this experience continually of defining what we want through the experience of clarifying what we don't want, which again is this: don't want a bunch of that. And in discovering I don't want a bunch of that, it assists me with the contrast, isolating what it is that I do want. This is very, very powerful, guys. Now notice we don't get upset about walking through the shop and going, don't want that, don't want that, don't want that, don't want that. And we will get upset in life with that. We will be upset and say something like, what's wrong with me that I can't define what my purpose is? What's wrong with me that I'm unable to get super duper clarity on those goals, or in that relationship, or with that particular business model? Even things like I deal with people like around meeting agendas and formats, or position descriptions, or accountabilities in the work that I do with business owners. A lot of times it can be frustrating and upsetting. It's not got anything to do with you failing as a person. Like, I'm gonna look you dead in the eyes. It's got nothing to do with that. It has to do with there hasn't been enough contrast. Now, cool thing about getting coached and getting put in a structure is we can synthesize contrast. So we can put you through a bunch of exercises, different intellectual processes, what we call different quadrants of logic. We could do all sorts of future scenario mapping, sequencing, strategy work. And I'm not just talking about business, that's with us as people too, where we explore all of that and we synthetically generate contrast, which then hones us in and gives us this laser clarity around what we do want. Now, having determined then what we don't want and what we do want, leaves us this really beautiful, pure, laser focus zone. And we're equally compelled to make sure we don't have that and we do get that. And there's this tension that it grows in between. And we're in the middle, and it drives us and inspires us. We build a positive feedback loop. Good, that's not happening, but good, this is happening. Okay, that's not happening, good, and that's happening. And we continue to develop these positive associations, which builds more momentum, builds more energy, gives us the sense of fulfillment, completion, and satisfaction. So it's another aspect again of positive and negative, but we're applying it specifically today in this discussion to motivations. And I encourage people to really enjoy negative motivation. There is nothing wrong with enjoying negative motivation. Take advantage of it. It's such a massive part of how our species has evolved, how our culture operates. Like even just something as, we don't think about the complexity over several hundreds of years or even thousands of years that has gone into something called our legal system. People who study law do, but everyday citizens don't think about that. But that has been developed literally over thousands of years to develop a framework for our society. Now, what's the main purpose of our legal system? It's to negatively motivate us, which is if I do that thing, I will have a negative consequence. And that negative consequence will negatively motivate me to not do that. So when I really want to, get out of my car and smash someone in the head for being, for driving dangerously or putting my child in danger or doing something like that, I have an impulse come up because of negative motivation saying, don't do that, that's not a good idea, there'll be negative consequences. So negative conditioning and negative consequences and negative motivators, if you let them, are so powerful. I was having a chat today with one of my clients who's a high performing business owner with a group of businesses, and she was saying, I want to drink less alcohol, and she's gradually conditioning herself with negative conditioning. She's working out, I don't want to have that little feeling of inflammation in my body. And so synthetically we are exaggerating how big that inflammation is and how badly that affects her. That's how I myself got to the point of not using alcohol or anything, and this is my 15th year of not using any kind of stimulants or substances or recreational or legal or illegal substances, and it was purely because I wanted to experiment, right? That was my positive motivation, and I rolled around in, I call it rolling around in, I exaggerated my negative consequences and my negative motivation. So if I had 2 drinks of alcohol and I'd wake up and I'd have a bit of sleep in my eyes, I'd be like, that's not even worth it. And I would exaggerate the negative consequences. So I would build up this negative motivation till it got to a point where the tension was so great. I was like, well, this is the zone I operate in and it feels wonderful. It feels great. And I don't have any other kind of desires to do anything else. And it meant I was able to condition this particular zone of behavior. So I hope that's given you all something. I'm loving this theme of positive and negative and all the aspects that we have of it. If you haven't seen the work I did on positive and negative, I think it was on Monday, to do with attitude and how the attempt to have consistently positive emotional states creates a lot of generalized anxiety for people, and I'm not cool with that. I think if we can deal with our humanity and our biology, we can be way more empowered and feel sustainably satisfied and content and connected, versus chasing positive feelings. So I love you all. If any of you need to talk to me, I am here. I take a couple of phone calls a week to people who are interested in talking about my programs, whether you're a business owner or you are out there leading your life, leading your community, leading your family. Everybody's leadership vision, in my opinion, matters, and I'm really delighted that I get to do what I do. Thank you to all the people who let me support them and partner them and work with them. Some of these clients I've been working with for over 10 years, and I just love that I get to partner in your lives this way. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Actually tell you can PM me or you can go to my website and there's a bookings page if you wanted to have a chat. Bye.